All right, welcome back to another agent interview, and I'm going to jump right into it. I've got one of my top agents that is in my life, and I mean that. I've got a guy that is super coachable, who has actually done the work to get the results with me today. I've got Nick Ottenbacher. Nick, thanks for being on the show again with me. I appreciate you doing this for other people.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into it.
Here's the deal. I don't know if agents still have trouble understanding kind of what to do. I think most people, if you ask them, could tell you, yeah, this is exactly what you do. I think real estate agents, Nick, have a problem doing it, executing, right? And so you're a guy that came into my life about a year ago, and we've been through so much together. I want to talk about your ability to be coachable, to do what it is that you've learned to do. How is it that you are so coachable? Because that's such a rare trait I find these days with other realtors.
Yeah, I think, I think one of the first things is a lot of agents are confused on, or not really confused. It's, what should you be doing? And I think, you share this same opinion, but really there's no exact right thing. I think you just got to first make the decision on what you're going to be doing and stick to it, in the long term. You got to be so committed where, say a week goes by, couple of weeks, a month goes by, and you're not seeing the results, that you're just going to be able, to keep moving forward, keep sticking through whatever it is you want to do. And then when it comes to, being coachable, I think, it's the same premise where you got to find somebody that you really trust, that they know exactly what's going to be the absolute best way to get you to where you need to be. And when I met you, I think I just bought into everything that you were about in terms of everything that you teach. You were somebody that I could look up on the MLS. You had the results. So I was just in a position where, whatever this guy says to do, I'm going to follow it step by step. And, the results are, coming together.
I love it. And that makes a lot of sense. I think that the thing that I haven't been able to figure out yet is there's been many agents that have come into my life, both at our company and through my training or coaching company, Nick, that initially say the same thing. Initially, they tell me, Nick, listen, dude, I will do everything you tell me to do. You show me the way, you show me how to do it, and I will do it. And what ends up happening most of the time is after that excitement has left, they quickly understand how hard it is, and then they stop doing it. And so what do you think happens for people when they go through that?
Yeah, and I think it's not only, in real estate. I think a common one we all fall victim to is working out. We make that decision, now's finally the time. I'm going to get in amazing shape. I'm going to stop eating like shit. And the first time there is, a little bit of that junk food's in your way, you don't feel like waking up. It's just so easy, to give in and not do the work when it comes to real estate. I guess I just have ingrained it in my mind, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to put in, the time and the hours, whether, the same type of work as if I was working at GM, working a 40, 50-hour work week. I've just committed to it and, to make it work. I don't, I don't know. I don't have any special formula as to, what's forcing me to do it. It's just kind of like putting in the work.
Well, and that's what's interesting. I think a lot of agents think that there is a magic formula or there is this magic potion that, once I remove the curtain, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's the thing, Brandon. That's why I'm not getting results. Can you talk about what it really takes day in, day out, the amount of work that you're putting in? When you say, dude, I'm willing to do the work, tell people what that work entails that you do every single day without fail.
Yeah, so the what I've bought into is really the prospecting model. I've got a lot of people that I look up to that have done this, including you. There's Kevin Mills out there, James Michener, and a lot of these guys that buy into this prospecting model, higher profitability, but it also takes a lot of work up front. So for me, and what that work exactly looks like, I got my schedule set in stone. Basically every morning at 8 o'clock, and this has been for the past 2 years now, I'm on the phones every morning at 8, and I'll typically make calls until about 2 o'clock. And at that point, I might have lunch and, get in a quick workout. And during that 8 to 2 point, I'm making at least 50 contacts every single day, Monday through Friday. And then the rest of my schedule, I'll typically have about 5 appointments a week, but I'll put those out in the evening. So 8 to 2 prospect, 2 to 3 take a break, and then I've got appointments at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And if I don't have the appointments during that time, I'm just taking that time to make more calls.
Wow. So the way that you outline that seems so simple, right? There's going to be an agent that's watching this that says you prospect every day, 8 until 2. Man, that's a lot of rejection. Man, that's a lot of pain. How do you deal with the mental side of staying in the game versus getting caught up in distractions and shiny objects and chasing things that people may believe are easier than prospecting, like social media and all these different things? How do you stay in the game?
Yeah, and I'd be lying to you. I've been in the business for about 5 years now, and there's been times in the past where it's been a bad week goes by, and I'm looking at this object or this object. But at this point, what really, keeps me in the game is I've just 100% bought into this is the absolute best way in the way that I'm going to run my business. So it's just, a matter of fact of, if I was working any other job, you're working from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock and you clock out and you walk home. And I've, tried it the other way where I'm only making calls from 8 to 10 and I don't have any appointments. But because I'm in real estate, I come home, I'm chilling, I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm playing video games. But that's exactly how you go broke in this business. So I've really just committed to saying, hey, whatever time I'm going to work, I'm either going to be on the phones or on an appointment. And that includes cutting out everything else that you could be doing. Like you said, you could be looking at social media. You could be on Facebook. You could be on YouTube. And all of these things, in your mind, while you're looking at it, you feel like it's helping you because you're learning a new thing that's going to help you. But it adds absolutely no value. It's the calls, getting in front of people that really drives that income. So I guess for me, it's just a matter of, I committed to be in real estate. So I'm, committed to making those calls and, doing the work that actually provides the results.
Yeah, thank you for being honest, because I went through the same thing, right? I mean, prospecting over the phone is probably the hardest thing in sales, but the most effective thing in sales. And so rightfully so, people start making these calls through excitement. When the excitement leaves is when they start to get distracted and trying all the different shiny objects. 2 things that you said that stood out to me the most. One was you surrendered to a process and a methodology that has proven results. And then you practiced unwavering commitment, meaning you don't try it for 3 days, not make $10,000 that week, and then you go try something else. You've stayed committed. Now, through this process, you've proven to yourself that it has worked. What's an average week, month look like for you from a production standpoint?
Yeah, so going back to October, I've consistently taken 4 listings every single month. Last month with the quarantine and the shutdown, I didn't take any, but so far this month I've gotten 8 listings taken. So it's been, pretty much 1 a week, pretty consistent about 200 contacts every week. And then, the appointments met typically about 3. So it's been pretty consistent, my numbers throughout the past, 6-7 months or so.
I love it. I love it. Very simple, very consistent. You constantly are sending me pictures every Sunday night of all of your results for the prior week. That's part of being coachable. And then the other thing is, let's talk about approach and skill set, because someone that's watching this can't just go and have 200 conversation and list 8 properties in a month. So walk people through the skills that you've learned and the approach of how important that face-to-face meeting has been for you.
Yeah, and I actually just got done reading the book called Spin Selling, and I know you're probably familiar with that. But basically what it's about is they looked over 35,000 different sales calls, and they're looking for, the number one indicator that is the top sales people. And, a lot of people think, who's the best closer? What type of questions are you asking? And they said the number one skill you have to learn as a salesperson is always constantly moving the sale forward. And what I love about your program, it's like you got different benchmarks for every single person you're working with. You have that initial call. After the initial call, the next benchmark is you got to get that face-to-face meeting. Once you're on that face-to-face meeting, there's a few different benchmarks you can hit. You do the home tour, you get a chance to go over the pricing in your CMA presentation, the net sheet, the value prop, and then after that appointment, you continue the follow-up, then that gets to a listing appointment. So I think it's, that approach that you're constantly looking to push the sale forward. But what's most critical that not a lot of other sales trainers and the past people that I've worked with before is they don't, that initial face-to-face meeting. It's all about getting face-to-face with as many people as you can. And once you push enough people through kind of that sale or that pipeline, all of a sudden you got a pipeline of, 50, 60 potential hot sellers that you've actually met with face-to-face that you're calling every Monday. And that's what's kind of drawn, most of those listings from.
I love it. So 2 things: Spin Selling, phenomenal book. If you guys haven't watched it, read that, go get it. You're talking about progressions, and that's exactly what the book talks about. And most conventional sales training, especially in the real estate space, Nick, as you know, wants us to go from phone call to listing, and they don't talk about progressions. And that's the myth in real estate sales that you're talking about. You've tried that both ways, right? You've tested what I've taught you in the old methodology, which is, I don't want to go on all these appointments. They're a huge waste of time. Although that's part of putting in the work as well, because to sit on the phone to look for people that will tell you, I'll sell my house with you without ever meeting you, walk people through those 2 methodologies.
Yeah, so I think you're looking at kind of, I would say, more of the old school methodology when you're just basically calling tens of thousands of people. And it's funny because I call a lot of people as well. But you're really looking for necessarily that home run where before you meet with them, you're asking the question that everybody knows, if we meet and everything sounds good, are we ready to get the ball rolling tonight? The problem with that is there's just so much rejection, and it takes so many calls to ever, find somebody like that in a prospect, versus anybody that's willing to get face-to-face. One of the main rules is once you get face-to-face, everything changes. So it's just the methodology of, you get more chances at bat. And I've actually noticed my conversion ratios are pretty similar, even when I'm trying to get that one question answered versus just trying to get face-to-face in general.
I love it. And that's the thing. When an agent can focus all their prospecting efforts on progressions, like you said, the only purpose of that phone call is one thing. And what is it, Nick?
To get face-to-face.
That's it. That is it. When an agent has this epiphany in their business is when we see an agent's business really skyrocket, because they can relieve the pressure that they're hearing from all these real estate gurus to say, go from phone call to get them to tell you they will list it. That's why agents have shiny objects. That's why they won't prospect. But when they can shift that approach from phone call to a face-to-face meeting without any attachment to the outcome, is when we see things explode. So what advice would you give, Nick, as we end this interview? What's the mindset that you have, that killer instinct that you have, that relentless behavior that you have fighting against old character into the new character that we see today, the new Nick Ottenbacher? Help people really quickly go from old self to new self. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things that I've worked on, especially over the past couple of months, is, in a lot of, big sales or, just business leaders in general, they say the number one thing you should be focused on is actually focus, being focused on exactly what you're doing. For me, I did the test where every 10 minutes you're writing out what you're doing. And I was noticing, I was spending the time on the phones or doing this, doing that, but I wasn't really focused. So I really had to make that decision to, cut off all social media, cut off YouTube, and really cut out anything out of my life during at least those work hours that wasn't getting closer to that result. So I guess, my one advice is just be more focused and, cut out everything else and say no, to everything else out there.
I love it. That's great, great advice. And you're right, because I'll leave people with this. People say to me all the time, I'm prospecting that amount of hours, but I don't get all the contacts Nick gets. Well, when I go and watch them, Nick, with the stopwatch, they're bullshitting half the time. They're grabbing coffee, they're going to the bathroom, they're watching this video in between calls. And when you have that monk-like focus that you're talking about, the results speak for themselves. So what's the back half of 2020 look like for you, Nick? I know the goal was to get to 50 listings. Are you on track? Are you going to do more than that? What does the rest of this year look like for you?
Yeah, so far I've gotten four a month, and right now we're towards the end of May. So I'm looking at just over 20 listings so far. With the shutdown still on pace, so I think definitely going to be able to get over that 50 mark. Towards the end of the year.
I love it. I love it. So how can new agents or agents that have been in the business that you've inspired today, what if they want to just bounce stuff off of you, right? Because they say, damn, Nick, how do you do it, man? How can they connect with you? Where's the best way to find Nick?
Yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody. My email is southeastmirealtor@gmail.com, or my cell phone, text me 586-651-9703.
Awesome, man. Well, keep pushing forward. I cannot wait to see your future. I can't wait till we're talking about 100 listings a year when you've got a full-time assistant. Those are going to be very exciting times for you, Nick. Keep pushing yourself every day, my friend.